Next pair that should come round, that should be Keith Hout on the VMAX Yamaha and Mike Taylor on the Cat, the Suzuki Katana. And as I speak, they come to do their burnout underneath the control tower.
Well, let's just give you the times and speeds for that. Mark Fossey taking the win, 10.27, 130 miles an hour. Lose out Sky Chamberlain, 10.40, 136.
Okay, so Keith Hout on that big VMAX. Just coming out into the lane closest to the main grandstand. He's from Manchester, where he's a director of a road rider dispatch company. So if somebody goes flashing by you on a VMAX, you know it could be Keith. Has run a better 10.46 on this machine. Let's see how he gets on running up against the Cat of Mike Taylor out there in the right-hand lane. Out the way. Mike Taylor's bike telling, and he looks as though he's got the problem there. Slowing as he goes towards the halfway mark and through towards the top end. So I don't know whether we're going to have to get the fire truck out to him or whether he's still capable of getting off the strip on his own. But certainly some problems there. So the win going to Mike Taylor, and let's give you the times and speeds for Mike Taylor.
Well, Mike Taylor, 10.20, 129 miles an hour, and a very troubled run, as you say, John, 19.91 at 30 miles an hour for the VN.
Okay, so we move into Super Street Car, and closest to the control tower, the Up in Smoke Pontiac Firebird of Peter White, carrying SSC4 from Northampton, so local lad, sponsored by Rod E.D. Autos, who seems to be coming into drag racing quite heavily this year, also sponsoring Steve Warner's dragster.
And over in the far lane, the Spirit of Frenzy, of course, that's Trevor Beck, SSC 17 with that Vauxhall Florenzi, and very much shades of Dave Collis from a few years ago. So both these cars, of course, they can run down again into the 1190 bracket, no further, no quicker than that. I've seen him do it several times. He takes the win this time. We wait for the times and speeds to come through.
Well, 10.91 has been Pete White's time. Trevor Betts had run 12.17 during qualifying there. I found my details at Log last. Sorry about the hold up there. But how has he done on that particular run?
Well, we're just waiting to confirm the speeds. It looks as though he's okay. Lose out time was 12.65 for Trevor Betts. Pete White goes through to the final. We'll give you those times and speeds very, very shortly.
Well, once again, it's 10.90 in the index here. That's Les Zarbo in the left-hand lane, who gave us quite a bit of entertainment at the start of this weekend. At the top there, Les Zarbo just pokes the nose across first, and he wants to get to the top end first, but not go below that 1090 index, which he knows he can do, and he's okay. He takes the win, 11.38, 119 miles an hour. Kev Jenkins loses out with 11.30. The car is the 1090 in the index on the last team, so don't worry. It's getting old, it's getting late in the day. I mean, it must be getting close to bedtime or something like that. So,
time for me Horlicks.
It's okay for Pete White. He goes through into the next round.
Yes, we get that one right in the end.
So it's Pete White against Les Zarbo in the final of Super Street Car, and we're back on with the Super Street bikes. Brian Emery out there in the right-hand lane. Now, he was our number one qualifier this weekend with a run of 9.19, and up against Steve Sykes, SS14 in the left-hand lane. Steve was our number 5 qualifier with a 9.67. So has Steve got the power to stay with Brian Emery? And Emery comes down, my goodness me, a huge couple of wheels. That's a real turnaround. Our number 1 qualifier losing out there to our number 5, Steve Sykes. I can't remember seeing Brian ever do that before, so he's going to be kicking himself really hard. Steve Sykes marches into the final with a time of
9.80, 141 miles an hour for Steve Sykes. So good run there. It's not far off of his personal best. So good run there for him. So next pair now, that's Ron Russell. And he's meant to be meeting, let me see, Paul Giddings. So Ron Russell in the first round beat Ken Cooper. And Paul Giddings upset another one of our quick runners, Chris Easter. And problems for Paul down there on the pit lane. Ron Russell patiently waiting back away from the start line. Good to see that. And a lot of attention going on to Paul Giddings' bike. It looks like it may be fairly terminal.
Well, Ron Russell
fires up again.
Yeah, that's good. So there we go. Chirps the bike up to the line. Well, Ron Russell was our number 3 qualifier, and Paul Giddings our number 7 qualifier. Ron had qualified with a 9:44. Paul Giddings had qualified with a 9:71. And Ron's been riding really well this weekend. Oh, and problems there. But Ron Russell just hard across that track. Russell into the final then to meet Steve Sykes. And let's have a look at the time and the speed. Commiserations to Paul Giddings. It looked as though he was going to get going, but lost fire on the start line. So Ron Russell's time.
9.71, 147 miles an hour. So he's going to meet Steve Sykes. It's going to be a good final.
That's going to be a close one. Steve Sykes, of course, getting through to that round with a run of 9.80. So on that last run, 900 to the second between them. We'll be back on.
Bring everything in. Put the nitrous on. And problems there for Richie Lee. Seems as though he's lost fire. Steve Green's car, of course, is fairly quiet while he's just sitting there, but it really does scream when he starts to do that burnout. We'll see our start line crew watching over the Southern Raider, looking for it to refire. Keeping an eye in the hood scoop there, making sure there's no flame from those carburetors. We saw that obviously earlier on from Mick Cheeley.
Yeah, well, of course, Richie Lee has been here campaigning this car this weekend, doing very, very well indeed. Just sneaked down under the index on one of his runs, and that's the fire extinguisher going in there now, just trying to get rid of the flame. I don't know whether we're going to see Richie actually perform here this afternoon. Steve Green waiting very, very patiently on the other side. Steve, who qualified with a 10.04, and Steve met Jeff Owen and shut him down in the prelim for Super Gas. But, oh no, Richie Lee's fired up. He's okay.
Well, one has to say the sportsmanship against Steve Green, just shutting that engine off and waiting for Richie Lee to manage to fire the car up. Well, Steve Green, we've spoken many times before about the tremendous amount of success the car's had over the years, running in the Rover V8 Challenge, running in Super Street, and finally, I would have guessed, running at his ultimate there in Super Gas. You never say that about Steve Green, we'll probably find him in Pro Modified next time.
I'm sure you're right, but I think he's going to have his work cut out. Oh, look at that. And Richie Lee, providing he doesn't break down, he gets the win. Feathering the throttle at the top end, he knows he's got it won. Steve Green pulls the red light on the tree. He just knew he had to cut the fine light to take Richie Lee out because he's been doing so well. And Richie Lee just cruises through, taking that win, and goes into the final to meet one of these two who are just coming through now. That's either Paul Jenkins or Tim Adam. And we're just waiting for Richie Lee's cruising time to come through.
12.18, 73 miles an hour. Very wisely, he'd seen that red light, just decided to take it steady.
No problem at all.
Crawls through and waiting to see who he's going to meet in the final.
Well, it's Tim Adam out there in the right-hand lane, the little Ford Anglia, small block Ford engine. It sits inside that massive scoop in the right-hand lane there. And both of these cars quite capable of running down below the index. How did they do on qualifying time, Steve?
Well, Tim Adam ran 10.03, 142 miles an hour, and for Paul Jenkins, he of course ran right on that index as well, 9.91, 135 miles an hour. Paul earlier on had a set of Hoosier tyres on that buy run that he had. I see that he's changed over now, he's running the Goodyears. Hoosier, the new tyres, I think is going to be coming into the country away from the NASCAR circuit that we've seen them run on for the last few years. Several of our door slammer classes in the States also run on these Hoosier slicks. So built for the big door slammer type of vehicle, ideally suited for super gas.
Well, the man who's brought the tyres in has just come up and joined us in the tower. That's Jeff Hauser standing right behind us here with Sylvia Hauser. Nice to have them both back with us again. Let's just see how these two super gassers get on. Paul Jenkins from Camberley and Surrey, left-hand lane, and Tim Adam, not that far away from him, Black Bush in the right-hand lane, in that black hand, and yet again, in the right. Tim Adam realised that he got his work cut out there, so that's automatically, and Paul Jenkins goes through into the final to beat Richie Lee. Now that is going to be a good one, because both of those drivers this weekend have run right on the index. Let's have a time, please, Steve.
10.17, 129 miles an hour for Paul Jenkins. So a good final in prospect. Both of those cars can run right on that index.
Okay, so we've got Jeff Hauser up to
50 yards toward the end, the car took a real hard side to the right, and I always had to react against that, and he just went left, and that was that. It was sort of on its bonnet by the time he hit the arm, so I just went over that.
Well, the big question from all of us here at Santa Pod, well, the big thing is that you're okay, which is, we had some heart-stopping moments there, as I know you did. You told me you just stuck your arms and your legs in and knew that the roll cage was going to hold you together.
That's all you can do.
Are you going to build another one?
I'd like to, obviously. I mean, I've been in the sport the majority of my life, you know, sort of 21 years I've been in the sport, and I don't want to give up this way, really, but it's all down to finances. I mean, a new car's going to cost me at least £20,000 to build, and another 15 grand a year to run it. So
Okay,
money.
I'm going to stop you there, Jeff, because we're into post-on bike racing. Just a couple of minutes time, because this is really, really fun. And then Paget, and it's Cole Rule who gets to the top end first. And let's have a look at the times and speeds, and it looks as though he's backing up his earlier qualifying time. He was the number one qualifier, Cole Rule. Steve, how are we doing on times?
Well, Cole Rule ran 8.34, 156 to take the win, and 8.48 at 156, lose out for Len Paget. Really was charging hard, but Cole Rule has got a very, very potent motorcycle there.
Well, there you are. We were talking to Jeff Hauser, and I'm sorry I had to break in there to talk about the Pro Stock Bike Racing. If anyone is interested in sponsoring a pro modified driver with a lot of expertise, Jeff is going to be around the track this afternoon, and our champion at the moment is without a car. So if anybody wants to put money in his wallet, he'd be delighted to talk to you.
Okay, next pair out in Pro Stock is Wayne Saunders in the left-hand lane. Now he should be running Nick Pepper.
Well, no, Nick, I've got some information about that. Yeah. Nick was up here earlier on. He has got some problems with the bike. They've suddenly found out why it hasn't been running properly. And the cam timing apparently has been put in incorrectly. And Nick was standing up here kicking himself in the backside like that because it was him who actually put all the cam timing in. So he said, it's my fault, I'm ever so sorry, I won't be able to run. He's going to come out, try and rebuild it, and come out and put in a practice pass later on. But you are now looking at the other finalist out there at the moment, and that's Wayne Saunders. Now he put down an 8.36 during qualifying, and we've just seen Cole Rule back up his qualifier with 8.34.
But don't forget,
he's run an 8.23, you're quite right, yeah. Steve. On his way through.
Really is flying.
On his way through into this round, he did run an 8.23. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does, making himself nice and comfy there. Building the revs up, so not going to wait for run. And that's Wayne Saunders, hard charging right the way through the quarter mile. So he's into the final now to meet Cole Rule, and what a final that is going to be in Pro Stock Bike.
Well, I think Wayne Saunders maybe taking it a little bit easy there at the top end. 8.99, 108 miles an hour. But that is a great final in prospect there.
Looking forward to that as we move on. We've just been talking about Pro Mod, and we move on to the Pro Mod cars.
Okay, Tim Cook out there now. Let me just explain what they're going to be doing over the course of the year. They are actually running qualifying sessions, qualifying points tables that are very similar to the NHRA style in Pro Stock. What that will give them is the quickest 4 or the quickest 8, I don't know quite which that is. They will run a showdown at the end of the season, so that's going to be something to look forward to. Not only are they racing qualifying to get racing positions. They're also qualifying for these bonus points in this championship. A little extra thing to go on through the year. Tim Cook is meant to be running Dave Mingay, who sat down there in the bleach box, just waiting for Tim Cook to come back.
Well, yes indeed, and of course, hasn't Tim Cook had a wonderful weekend?
Certainly has.
I mean, can't say any more than that.
Late yesterday afternoon, saw him back in the 7.90, 186 miles an hour.
And Dave Mingay still looking for that elusive 7-second pass. This car in the left-hand lane, the little Chevrolet Monza, the Hellraiser car, has run down into the 7-second bracket, has put down a run of 8.4 here this weekend, but up against Tim Cook, and Tim Cook just venting the nitrous there into the atmosphere, so he's got a nice cool charge going right the way through to the engine. Massive engine in Tim Cook's car, 540 cubic inches, 500 cubic inches in Dave Mingay's car, and Jeff Hauser up in the control tower here, avidly watching these two as they come up to the start line. This is, of course, Jeff was the Pro Mod champion last year, would love to be out there mixing it with these two. It could be anybody still in the revs up, and still the back. And I don't know what that was, a little bag or something, but it's Timmy Cook who gets to the top end first, and my goodness, what a